This is Charleston's retirement coach, Brandon Bowen.
Brandon, you and I, we're here on the radio every week, having a good time. We like to laugh and talk about college football. Sometimes we're not laughing talking about college football. I just wanted to start off because you had messaged me before we came on the radio being like, there's a story that's happening. I think it's still unfolding about somebody you work with. And you're like, I'm just feeling so convicted to tell this story. You want to raise a warning flag to folks who listen to us on 94.3 about this circumstance that's happening with somebody you work with. What's going on?
Yeah. So what we've had, so this has happened over the last, I'd say, couple weeks here. So I've got a client, him and his wife, they've been clients. I went and looked back since about 2016, so a good 10 years. I don't know when our very first meeting was, but we've got stuff from 16, 17. And so they became clients back then, had saved, if I remember correctly, it was around like $1 million, had done well. On Daniel Island, just saved well, had, nice retirement income. So for the first handful of years, they were traveling. We even put together, I remember they did a trip down to Africa.
Fun.
I mean, our clients go to a lot of really cool places, but I think he's the only one, maybe one other household I can think of has gone down there, but that's like a $40,000 trip if you do it right. And I wouldn't do that cheap anyway. But anyway, so they went down there, they were traveling and all the stuff. And so just doing great. Well, here I'd say starting about 6 months ago, 4 to 6 months ago, they started making some bigger withdrawals from their account. Okay. From their retirement accounts, their Fidelity, an annuity they have, started making. So sure, no problem. Yes, we can make this work within the plan. So we're sending that to them. And then in short amount of time, another withdrawal, right? And then another withdrawal, like $30,000, $25,000, $45,000. And so I picked up the phone and I was like, hey, is everything okay?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's fine. Everything's fine. We're doing some home remodeling, some stuff going on, a lot of purchases, things we're trying to fix. And I said, okay. Then like the next week, another big withdrawal. Okay.
Yeah.
And then like that next day. So this was on, I think it was a Thursday.
Okay.
I'm on a call with another client and I can see my front door when people come into the office and here he comes. He's walking in. So unannounced. Okay. So he did not have an appointment. He came in, this was probably about 1:00 that day. And I waved to him and I'm finishing up my call there or whatever. And then that finishes and I go see him and he basically came in. He goes, Brandon, I need to tell you really what's going on here. And I was like, oh yeah, come on in, close the door. And so basically he has gotten involved with a scam online. Okay. And where he, thought that someone had reached out and said, hey, you've got an uncle that had a life insurance policy. We couldn't find anybody. You're the next of kin. And so, but that made sense because it was from a certain part of the world where he knows he's got some family from.
Okay.
And some things like that. And so, but there's some attorney fees and we need this, we need that. And he's been sending money,
Oh, wow.
And so we're sitting here talking. I was like, what? And, as he's repeating it back, it's almost like he's
like he can't believe the words that are coming out of his mouth almost.
Yes.
Like it's like as he says it out loud, he realizes how unbelievable it is how he says it out loud. It's amazing how different things can sound and feel when you're saying them out loud versus when you're in the trenches dealing with a circumstance
and like from different parts of and these people are from, this law firm they're in Indonesia. I'm like, what? Why are they in Indonesia?
Right.
And I've got to go up to Canada next week. Why? And I'm like, okay, what's their name? And we're searching it right here. We're, in the conference room, I'm pulling it up on the computer and then I go and pull up when that domain was created. And that was 3 months ago.
Oh no.
For this law firm, right? I'm like, look at this. I was like, look, this website was just created right here, right? All these things. And I'm searching and Googling all these things. And he's just like looking at it. And he's like, but he told me this. And then but I called the number and I was like, okay, you called the number that was on that website. I said, yeah, right here. And I was like, don't call that number because they've got people that are also in on the scheme. I was like, let's Google them and let's try to call this number. And so we're like, I'm helping him see this. And he's just like.
So when he first came in, did he not realize that he was in the scam or was he starting to have suspicions and that's what brought him?
Yeah, I want to think that it's almost like he wanted help.
Okay. Yeah.
Like because I mean, he's like $400,000
Oh my
out
gosh.
the door towards this. And so we called the state of South Carolina, right?
Okay.
We've called Fidelity.
Yeah.
We're bringing people in. They're sending people, this is now wire fraud. This is all this stuff that they're trying to go after these people, right? I mean, this is big time stuff. And much less you talk about like, okay, them and their retirement picture, right? Of what they have left here and what they're now going to be able to do and not do because of this stuff, right?
Okay.
And so we're working through this. So this, the story is going to continue, of course, as we continue to work through that. But what I wanted to talk about here today and bring this up to you listening is, do you think that the person that you're working with right now with your money, would they notice something like that going on if that were to, God forbid, happen to you, right? If you were to get deceived on something or be making, I don't know, just some crazy decisions, because a lot of people think they feel like they're doing this on their own,
right?
They're in retirement. My spouse is counting on me. They're trying to listen to radio shows and podcasts and read stuff, and they're clicking on things, right? These people are smart that are trying to spam you and stuff. You're getting all these emails, right? All this stuff on,
and they're getting better and better. It's like people get so embarrassed when they realize that they clicked on something or they got baited. They're getting so good.
And it's really hard. It sounds right, looks legit, right, whatever.
Sounds right, looks right.
Yes.
But it doesn't feel right. And that's the thing that like you hear special like investigator type people that are they say there's always a moment where somebody will say something felt off. If you ever feel that, you listening to us on the radio right now, especially when it comes to your life savings, if something feels off, don't ignore that.
Yeah. Because then there was one number and they were like, and then they gave me their WhatsApp. No, I was like,
WhatsApp?
A law firm?
Right.
And he's like, but they're fine. They're going to do this. They're advancing. They've told me I'm getting $8 million death benefit, but they said they would go ahead and pay this part. If I send them this much money, they'll go ahead and pay these other things. And I said, do you have a contract with them? They're like, no, we haven't signed anything. I said, you're telling me they're a law firm and they haven't made you sign a contract. They haven't done anything legal
right
on legal documents. You got nothing. He's like, yeah. I was like, even every law firm commercial that you hear on the radio right now, these injury attorneys, you're going to sign something and then they're going to take 30% of your winnings, of whatever you win from the case or what, it's like, I think, needed to say it out loud to let that go like, I'm kind of getting myself turned around even as I try to tell you, Brandon.
Right.
And so we're going through all this stuff here. And so, it really, when I left that meeting after I cleared my whole afternoon, because this was one of the most serious things that I've ever done in my 15, 16 years of doing this, right? Is helping someone that has gotten into a situation here where if we don't step in, their life is going to be ruined. They're going to be completely broke. He had almost gone past the point of like, well, I've got to keep going here. I can't stop now. I got to see this thing out. And I'm like, you have got to stop now, right?
Yeah.
We've got to stop.
Yeah.
So there's things that we've done to help them there. But again, back to you listening is that, I want you to think, when at your current firm where your money is right now, who was the person that got you to sign up, right? That you trusted at the very beginning. Maybe it's someone here or here in town or somewhere out of town. But my question is, are they still there? Right? Or have you been handed off to maybe 3 or 4 advisors that are getting younger and younger, and you got to like, you might get a new one. Hey, Mr. or Mrs., I'm your new advisor. And you're like, well, great. Now I've got to explain everything that's going on and tell it all again. It's like when I call a service center, and I need help with something and they answer the phone, like, please read the notes. Okay. I'm calling to get a refund on my ticket price that whatever.
Right,
you got to like re-explain everything you've already told 3 people. And it's so frustrating, right?
Yep.
So do you feel you have to do that every time you get a new financial advisor? You got to walk through and tell them, okay, well, here's our goals. Here's what we want to do. Right. But you get shorter and shorter every time, right? You're over that whole process.
Yep.
And that's what I'm so proud to say here, in Charleston, right? When you call or text our office, you're going to come in, you're going to meet with me at the very first meeting. And then if you become a client, that I feel so blessed and honored. But guess who you're going to work with when you become a client? Me.
Right.
You're going to keep working with me. I love building this relationship and continuing this relationship with my clients year after year. And you've got, kids getting married or grandkids going to college, all this fun stuff that I can remember we talked about. And you told me about this 6, 7, 8 years ago. Right. And now is the time to do this. And someone to come alongside you on the financial journey here to help you have a sounding board. Hey, Brandon, I was thinking about doing this. Hey, Brandon, I had a meeting this week with a client. He said, Brandon, we were going to do a big vacation or a vacation later this year, but you know what I've got next year is my 40th wedding anniversary. And I said, oh my gosh. I was like, let's do something small this year, but I want to help you
blow it out.
Yeah. For your 40th next year. Oh my gosh. That would be so fun. So I'm now excited for, as they plan this 40th wedding anniversary here. Now all the kids are gone. Right. I mean, that's life. That is retirement.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what having the right plan, having the right advisor, the right team in place here can help you plan for these, celebrate during, celebrate after, right? So many things that we can help you with.
Yeah.
And that's really what I want you to hear. And if you don't have that, if you're just a number, if you feel like a number at a big box firm and you're tired of being handed and passed around and, then I would invite you to come in and see how different it can be. Okay. You've got someone on your team, again, back to my story here. I mean, it truly rocked me to my core. I left that day. It was about 5:30 that day. Mm-hmm. I got in my car and I called my dad. Mm-hmm. And I said, Dad, I want to tell you, high level of what just happened here. And I want to just remind you, if there's anything that an email that looks like, oh my God, I need to, follow or whatever, don't be embarrassed.
Yeah.
Please call me, call one of our sisters. There's 3 of us kids, right? You reach out to us. He does, they do. And we talk through a lot of things. When he has questions, financial questions, he always calls me. But, we talk through all that stuff. I was like, don't be embarrassed. Don't feel like you have to hide anything.
Right.
We want you to enjoy your hard work. Quit giving it to us kids and the grandkids and, whatever. They like experiences together. But you've got to have someone like that on your team.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Brandon, that's what you pride yourself on, being a local guy. You have put your kids through school. You've been a Mount Pleasant man for years. You put your kids have gone to school here. You and your wife, you're raising your family here, and obviously working with folks all around the Low Country. It's something that's very, very important to you. And also being a local independent financial advisor. That's also something that's very important to you. You tout that every week here on the radio. The idea of big box firms. Listen, they've got a place. We're not dogging on anybody. Yeah. They do. They have a place. But when it comes to your retirement, and having a partner in that space, because it's just so much more complex than your growth years, your retirement years, there's just a lot more that's involved. And so having a partner in this space to walk alongside you, it's just so valuable to so many people that Brandon works with. And he wants to show you what he can do for you as far as helping you through and figuring out ways to do things like the big 40th anniversary trip, but also to just have a person to bounce ideas off of and so having somebody to kind of keep an eye on things for you throughout the years ahead. So if you're ready to start that conversation, let's do it. Give us a call, 843-890-2400. You can call or text that number, 843-890-2400, to set a time on the calendar to meet with Brandon, start the conversation. And the initial conversation is just that, a space where you can ask some questions, Brandon asks some questions. You're just getting to know each other and then see if it's a fit to begin the process of figuring out your retirement plan together. 843-890-2400. You can also find us at bowenwealth.com.
Thanks for listening to Charleston's Retirement Coach Podcast with Brandon Bowen. To learn more, visit bowenwealth.com and join Brandon for his radio show, Charleston's Retirement Coach, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on 94.3 WSC.
Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if J. Brandon Bowen is licensed in your state, please call 843-203-2030. J. Brandon Bowen is an investment advisor representative of Bowen Wealth, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. J. Brandon Bowen is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Bowen Wealth, LLC, insurance licensed in South Carolina. Market Guard is a registered investment advisor with the SEC and provides model portfolios only to Impact Partnership Wealth. Market Guard makes no implied warranties or representations and is not liable for any data presented.